Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back now here with Bob Kauffman, who, of course, is the owner and president of Critical Thinking for Success. We want to welcome you back to the show today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. Things are going terrific.
Great. Well, I know it's been a hard year for so many people. We've had some great conversations in the past. I'm excited to be here on Zoom with you to talk more about your consulting, your training, and exactly what you do that will blow the minds of people out there. Of course, how you can help them better themselves, their careers, their journey, their life path. So please introduce yourself.
All right. Well, my background is I'm a licensed clinical social worker and got trained in all kinds of forms of psychotherapy and personal growth work and substance abuse. And then I end up doing very neurofeedback and mental performance training, cognitive training. Probably useful to talk about how, things that have impacted me that I think might be helpful to your listeners. And one of the things is, as I grew up, I grew, like a lot of men, I was very stoic. I had gone through a lot of different tragedies, and it was just best not to feel things. And so I had a number of close losses that, I just didn't feel anything. And I thought I should be feeling things, but I didn't feel anything. Mm-hmm. And then I was married, and I had a daughter, and my daughter was born, and I was standing at the nursery window crying, thinking, God, I love her. And I could feel it through my whole body. I could just feel how much I loved her. And I was shocked, just at the feeling. And I thought, well, I wish somebody loved me that way. And I didn't think too much more about it. But after that, as she was born, I started taking better care of myself, and I started learning how to be more aware of my feelings. But then a tragedy hit when she was 8, somebody arsoned my home, and my wife and daughter were caught in the fire. And so I got a call. I wasn't there at home, and I got a call, and I ended up going to Cook County Hospital burn unit where they were located, and sat around for a long time because I had ridden down to there in an ambulance in the front where my daughter, worst ride I ever took. But I got down there, and the doctor finally came in after several hours to tell me how badly they were burned and that they were probably going to die. And they couldn't see and they couldn't speak, but they could hear. And I was allowed to see them for 5 minutes every 2 hours during visiting hours. And I had to gown up, and I went in, and I didn't know what to tell them because, I knew they didn't know they were going to die, and I couldn't bring myself to tell them that. And my arms at the time started aching when I was with them, just started aching. And then after they passed, I started trying to find out who killed them. And I spent over a year looking, and they ended up, I ran out of leads. The police weren't helping. They had botched the crime scene. And I ran into this guy who was psychic, and he was a police consultant. I thought, oh, okay, I'll hire him. But I didn't believe in psychics. And I thought, so I found another really well-known psychic in the area who was noted for her ability. And so I hired both of them. And I said, if both of them come up with the same person, I'll believe it. Otherwise, it's baloney. Well, they both came up with the same person, and they both said there was no evidence to prove it because the crime scene was so botched. And the second person, her name was Linda. I said, Linda, I don't know what I'm going to do with this information. And she knew I was lying because I was going to go kill this person.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, Bob, your wife and daughter are at peace. They do not need you to avenge them. And if you do, it will destroy you. So I took that seriously, given all the other information she'd given me. And then she added, and anyway, your daughter was an old soul who came to teach. And her teaching was finished, and she would have died that year anyway. And I didn't know what that meant, but later on, a couple months later, my arms were still aching. And a friend of mine had me sit in a rocking chair and had me rocking. He said, imagine you're rocking your daughter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I did. And I was crying like mad as I did.
Oh.
And my arms started feeling better immediately. And as I finished rocking her, my arms, the pain was gone. But then I was holding a little boy. I said, I looked, well, who's this little boy? Turned out it was me. And I said, I saw that I hated this little boy. I did not like this little boy. I was very critical of me. I was very putting myself down, didn't like me. I thought I wasn't good. And then I saw that this little boy was no different than my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I made a commitment to love myself.
The little boy just needed to be loved. It's a beautiful story. Now, Bob, I've talked to you before and I've heard this story. So again, my condolences. It always tears me up. I mean, it's a sad story, but look, your daughter came here to teach you and look what she did for you. And look,
Right.
now in turn, you're helping so many people. So I appreciate you sharing this very personal, deep story with us all. And
a big part is that people don't know, how magnificent they are. And so, they don't treat themselves well. And out of that often comes our not treating other people well.
yeah.
If people really know and appreciate who they are, the magnificent being they are, they also will see that magnificent exists in everybody else too.
Yep. Every one of us.
Hopefully they take better care. So the tools I use is just to help people better appreciate who they are and to grow in that. And, today, a lot of people have post-traumatic stress and panic and things like that. Well, also with head injury. So the neurofeedback I found was really helpful for head injury, ADD, and then I used the electrodes along the spine. I found that I can affect the sympathetic nervous system, and people who've been carrying around pain and upset and panic and things like that begins to disappear, and that their body, they had tightened their body down. And so then they just became burdened with all the upset, and it just stays.
Yeah.
If we don't express our burden and our pain and everything, it stays in our body forever. The body doesn't know time with them. So this really helps that energy begin to flow. People become more aware of how they feel, and hopefully they can then start learning how to create in their life. And that's where the cognitive stuff comes into, is that, teaching people how to use their marvelous brain to create things in life.
Beautiful.
And so it's fun. I'm still doing it after all these years. I get to see miracles every week.
Now you're based out of Chicago, Illinois, right?
Right.
And you also
and we do. I coach people all over. I coached as far as London and Australia and other places, and so I can do that virtually.
So you
I
help
can't do
people
the
develop
neurofeedback virtually, but I can do the cognitive stuff.
So you can work with people as a success coach, you call yourself, right?
Right.
And you can physically work with people, help develop new pathways to
Yeah.
thinking better and to
Right.
therefore succeeding in whatever area of life it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Because one of the things people don't understand is a big part, our brain has this part that likes what's familiar.
Yes.
anything unfamiliar to it scares it. And I don't want to go, even if it's going to be good for me, I don't go there. And things that are bad for you, if you get used to them, you keep them going because that part said, well, it's familiar, hasn't killed me yet.
Yeah.
So anything unfamiliar, that part thinks could kill me. And this got started when we were prey, and anything in the environment that was unfamiliar could be a predator and kill us.
Yeah.
So it's only question, is it familiar? If it's not familiar, I don't want it. And so to help people move from that, they need a pathway that it looks safe, and they need support. Because even if I have a safe pathway, I won't necessarily do it. And, and I see it in myself. Anything new, a part of me goes, oh no, I don't, and
well, it's that anxiety. It's that fear of something new, doing something different. So how do you get to that person to bring them from that state of fear and anxiety to letting go and to walking down that new path? What are some of the type of techniques, and how does it work?
Well, part of it is to begin to get clear on what the fear is. What am I most afraid of? Sometimes there's more than one. And then what's my strategy for handling that? And breaking things down into small steps helps the brain see, oh, I could do this.
Okay.
And then I support them in doing it. I said, when are you going to do this? Let me know, text me and whatever. Who else can support you in doing this? And so pretty soon they get good at being able to create good plans and ask for support. Now, the added factor is we're usually in family systems and other systems, and that system gets used to us being a certain way. So if we start acting different, it oftentimes tries to bring us back to the same, why are you doing that? And so I will often work with the family systems, or even in businesses, the same thing. It's like, we can't do that, or what are you doing? And so helping people get good planning in place and then support. Now, I deal with different businesses at different levels, but entrepreneurs, they say, they are both the blessing and curse of the business. And they have great ideas and everything, but they oftentimes fail to plan, they get in the way of it, and they keep themselves from being highly successful. And so helping them learn how to plan, learn how to communicate, how to delegate well, because oftentimes they're doing too much and not knowing how to delegate to others, and where they could do what they really do best and have other people do the other needed things. So there's both our individual fear of changing, but there's also the family or system fear of changing. And we all run into that. And I always say it's hard to soar like an eagle when you're surrounded by turkeys.
I like that. That is very true.
And so if you want to soar, you need to find other eagles to soar with, and that will support you and say, you can do it. And let's put a plan together and make it happen.
So you say cognitive training to freely enjoy your brain. Do you struggle to use your brain to its full potential? We can free you from mental bondage to relax and enjoy life. Just want to point out the website, Critical Thinking for Success. If you're watching and listening here today, make sure you visit the website there to find out more about Bob and, of course, how he can help you. My goodness. Now, this thinking of the critical thinking, it's been around for how long now? Since the 80s? Or, and then when was neurofeedback discovered?
Well, neurofeedback goes back into probably the 70s, and biofeedback was even before that. And it is where you actually hook people up on their head or body. The cognitive stuff goes back, especially in the probably 70s, 80s. As we started looking at how to put thinking into computers, we had to get, how does this brain work?
Yeah.
And we started discovering much more how the brain works. and 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 we have this wonderful computer, but nobody gives us a course on how do you use it. And our thoughts are so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
If we think negatively, we put energy out, and we're going to attract that into our life. If we think positively, that will go out and begin to have things happen in our life. I find that as I think positively, suddenly, how did this arrive? There are divine coincidences occur, it's like, wow. And the better you get it, the quicker it starts manifesting in your life. And you get to really enjoy yourself more. You can make a bigger difference with other people and so forth. And you've been around, I'm sure, places where there's people are gossiping and are negative, and it just like takes the energy down.
Yeah, I used to call my mother. Her name was Debbie Downer. She unfortunately passed of lung cancer 4 years ago, but I'm opposite her, I guess, because I learned growing up from her. She was always so negative and Debbie
Right.
Downer, negative Nancy. And then all of a sudden I became super positive because I saw what that brought in her life and how it affected her. And
Absolutely.
it wasn't good. But I also
No.
know quite a few people that are like that. And it's,
Yeah,
if you could help them.
And you'll see that people will relate to each other through complaints and gossip and everything. And it's looking like we're getting close, but really we're not getting to know each other. And it's a way to relate, but it only adds negativity to the world.
Called commiserate.
Yes, that's right. And it's like, that's why gossip, lots of people will gossip about somebody else, but they won't go to them and communicate directly about what their concerns are and how they would like to get, be able to develop positive relationship and things like that. Most of us have been, educated in the drama triangle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a victim and there's a persecutor and there's a rescuer, and it just goes round and round and never solves anything.
Got it.
So, but I'm glad you saw the difference and say, hey, I don't want to live like this. This is
absolutely. And I tried my best to make her happy and positive. Never worked, but I did my best to surround her with my positivity, show her happy things, but to each his own.
She had that part that this is familiar, because it oftentimes gets passed from generation to generation to generation. Mm-hmm. And good you saw it, and
break the pattern here. I have a 4 and 6-year-old, so it's time. I try to teach them positivity, and I know mindset is huge. And I get the opportunity to talk to people like yourself who believe in positivity, believe in good energy and health. And I think that makes me more overall well-rounded, and I'm learning from you as well. So thank you for that.
Well, and a big thing is you just get to see, I hold that we are these creative souls that happen to take on a body, this biocomputer, and we're operating this physical world. Let's use our creativity. Let's create outcomes and solutions that work, rather than, confronting anger or hatred or whatever with anger and hatred doesn't work.
Yeah.
You really need to address it with positivity and really wanting to get to know somebody. As you get to know them, it's hard to hate them. It's like, if you truly get to know them. And so, I see my work as every day I get to meet people and get to know them and believe in them. And they'll often say, I heard your voice, Bob, as I do. And I said, that's not my voice. That's your voice with my accent. Because I know that they're starting to believe in themselves then.
Well, Bob, unfortunately, we are out of time. I know it was only 20 minutes today. Unfortunately, we got to start, but I want to thank you. And I know your wife, your daughter looking over you, they are super proud of what you've done and how you are helping so many people. I mean, what a blessing. Heartache into a blessing. And here you are, positive proof of making the best out of the worst situation. And look what's come of it. It's made you happy, successful, and you're sharing this happiness and success and teaching others how to be happy and successful. So, Bob, Hats off to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can
Thank
you
you.
tell everyone how to get in touch with you if they want to book a session for coaching or for the cognitive therapy? What?
Yeah, my website and email, it's really Bob at Critical Thinking for Success or criticalthinkingforsuccess.com. And the phone number they can reach me at is, I'll give you my cell, 847-845-0422. And I'd be happy to talk with them and see how we could be of any service to them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today. It's a pleasure getting to see you, speak with you, all the above.
Good seeing you.
Thank you. And I wish you a happy and healthy week. And to all of our viewers and listeners, please stay tuned. More of the show is coming right up after this quick break. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.